Oh yeah, we got sound.
What kind of mic is that? Got a good one.
Oh yeah, we got sound. All right. This is, what are we? What's today? July 17th, 18th?
18th.
18th. We are mid-July. We are a little late with this show. That is, we're going to just kind of, since the fishing is, I mean, honestly, it's not outstanding this time of year, we're going to kind of combine July and August into one report. Yes, Michael, there's Kenny sitting beside me. Don't say nothing about me, though. I mean, I'm sitting right here, too.
Pat's pulling up now.
Pat McGriff should be rolling in here in about the next minute. So we're just kind of killing a few minutes until Pat gets here. And we're going to do a fishing report here tonight. We want to thank y'all for joining us. We are, there he is. There's the man. We are live, Pat.
Hi.
So it is, like I said, it's been dadgum hot.
Oh,
I did a little yard work for about 20 minutes this afternoon, and I thought I was going to die.
Well, I fished today.
Did you? And it was, hey, what was the haze? And was that the Saharan dust that we were seeing at the haze in the sky today?
I don't know from Sahara, but it was.
It was hazy.
It was hazy.
Yeah, there
because
was
all the moisture in the air.
Yeah, I don't
how
know
hot it was getting.
I know there's supposed to be
just
like.
Call it steam.
There's supposed to
Miserable.
be some Saharan dust headed our way.
I don't know the Sahara dust.
But I know it was super hazy today. And I was just curious as to what the cause of that was. Maybe it was just a ton of moisture in the air. But if there was that much moisture in there, you thought we'd have got some pop-up showers this afternoon. And it stayed dry as a bone today.
Well, there's a lot of moisture on my boat.
Yeah.
I was wet, and my client was wet.
Yeah, a lot of sweat moisture, huh?
Yeah.
I got 8 hours of it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So. He had a couple of beers, and he said, "You know, I don't want a beer." I said, "You're smarter than I thought." Just like that.
Yeah.
And I loaned him 2 bottles of water to get him through the day.
Yeah, that's shoot, he went out there with no water today? Oh my god.
He had like 3 bottles.
Yeah.
I tell my clients a bottle, a 16-ounce bottle of water per person per hour. Once July.
Yeah, you know, it's almost impossible to drink enough water when you're out there.
I try.
Because I
That's
try
what second
to.
wind hydration is for if you need it.
Yeah, there you go. Good plug. Good segue. I try to stay ahead of it, but I can never, like, this is, I mean, kind of probably too much information, but whenever I pee out there, it's like always bright yellow. I can never get ahead of it. I try to. You try to drink enough water.
What they say and what I do is I drink a bottle of water in the morning before I ever start, and I start on that bottle, and I try to drink one every hour.
Yeah.
See, I start with about 3 cups of coffee, just start backwards.
So what can we talk fishing today? I mean,
It hasn't been terrible, but it's definitely not spring or fall. It's been hit and miss.
I've had 4 great days. Had
and
one day
out of how many?
4 in a row.
Oh, okay.
I had 4. I had a 8 trout day Sunday. Yeah, we only caught 8 instead of 10. But I had 2 people each day, and we had limits. And I threw back. I think I threw back 3 or 4 overs yesterday. I had Andy Jackson from computers.
Yeah, Perry Connections. Yes.
And his wife, and we caught an oversized red, set 27 plus inches. Andy did, and his wife caught 2 keeper reds, and we had 10 trout, and I had 6 over 18 inches in that group.
Oh, nice.
And we threw back 4 overs.
Yeah.
And today that water was slick, and I left there and went 5 miles north, catching fish, and I said, I hate to leave fish biting to find fish, but we've got to go back where I was yesterday afternoon. And the first bait I put in the water was a 30-inch red, then he caught a 25-inch red, and then we caught a couple of trout we had to throw back.
So you find something consistent then?
That area, I moved right outside of an area that I've been fishing, and bang, 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 they were sitting on the edge of it going, he's not coming over here. But yeah, everything's bait. But of course, we were fishing a hayfield just then. That last stop, you couldn't work a grub on a cork or anything.
Because so much floating grass.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
terrible.
But those fish were in there.
Yeah. Yeah. You seen a lot of bait where you fishing?
I saw a lot. I saw why the fish were where we had been catching them. Kenny had gone over that area, and a week ago.
Yep.
10 days ago.
Yep.
And I saw the bait there, so I could
There's a
see.
ton of bait.
I could see why they were
Right.
there, because it was dead slick.
Yeah.
It was dead slick for 3 hours,
Yeah.
and you know, we finally started catching fish, and then the breeze just barely rippled, and I was actually in less than 3 feet of water catching keeper trout.
Wow. What was the water?
And I have been, everything else has been over 3 up until, I don't know what the temperature is.
Oh.
My gauge is gone, and I hadn't put the transducer on that other machine. I've got it on the boat, and I'm using the GPS, but I haven't.
Right.
I've been catching them shallower than normal for what, 2 weeks?
You think that's bait related? That's what the bait is?
I think it's bait related.
Well,
What kind of bait do you see?
Pat and I both, we kind of lost the fish there for a few days, and we were bouncing around, calling each other, trying to figure out what's going on. And you know, one day I was riding along and there was just bait everywhere, and I just stopped, and fish were there. He came over, got on them. The next day, you shifted a little bit.
I moved about 3/4 of a mile, and there were fish, but there were more catfish. Now today we did not get pounded by the catfish like we did for the last previous 3 days.
Yeah.
The catfish were biting every bait you put in the water. If you didn't catch a trout or a red, you had a catfish bite on
Yeah.
every bait.
Yeah.
And that gets tedious, but
For sure.
it's hard to quit when you swap from catfish to 22-inch trout to keeper red to catfish red. There's no pattern to it, no rhyme or reason. The ladyfish were bad today, but they're always bad when it's slick.
Yep.
Because they come running when they hear the cork. They can hear the cork when it's dead
Yeah,
slick
when
and
it's-
come from distance. When the trout aren't moving, the ladyfish is going to beat them to the punch.
Yeah. Well, guys, if you're just joining us, we appreciate you if you popped in here. We're kind of getting started. It is. Would you say we're in the dog days?
Sure
Yes.
feels like it.
Is dog days
Today-
July, or is that kind of August? Is August the dog days?
August is dog
August.
days.
Yeah.
But we're there.
Middle August.
Yeah.
But we're at temperatures of that.
Yeah.
Both water and air. But these trout, guy asked me, you think we'll do all right with the water as hot as it is and all? I hear it's hotter, and Andy was talking about how hot it was, and I said, well, this is metabolism. I said, this trout's metabolism is up as high as it'll go, and they gotta have food. They eat, just like bass. I used to bass fish, and I bass fished the hottest days in the
Oh,
summer,
yeah.
and caught some of the biggest fish that I catch for the year.
Yeah.
Because they've got to eat.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's the way I look at it. I mean, if you can stand it, they're out there feeding.
Yeah.
They're there.
Primarily pinfish.
All of it.
All of it's
You
been
can't. I can't throw anything else. I tried putting a grub and cork to keep me from micromanaging my crew Saturday or Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I moved it, I had grass on it. I mean, every time I tried to pop it or shake it.
You can catch them on it if you don't have the grass in it, getting grassed up. I mean, I've caught some on, hate to admit it, but gulp. This time of year, gulp works good. But there's so much floating grass out there. It's terrible.
Well,
Yeah.
it was. I never saw anywhere that was not covered in it. And like I said, there was some areas, because we've had a west wind every day for what, 2 weeks?
Long time.
14, 15 days.
Yeah.
And that's pushing all the grass that's out there floating.
Mhm.
It's piling it up, piling
Yeah.
it up, piling it
Yeah.
up.
And plus we got scallop season on top of that, so all that grass is getting
No,
chewed up.
they're not affecting
You
where
think
I am.
you think it's that it's just the natural cycle of the turtle grass
Well, it
releasing,
lets go at 880, and it's 90 plus.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
You
hot.
sent me a text of 93 degrees. They were scalloping. right?
93 degrees.
He said, "How refreshing." That was Kenny's text.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
93 degrees.
How
weather.
refreshing.
Brutal.
You know what?
There really hasn't. The number of scalpers hasn't been what it typically is.
No.
numbers are down.
I think they know how
Not
hot,
the numbers of scallops, the numbers of people.
right, and I think that's because of how hot it is. I think they just realize, we're going to be out there all day. We don't have any cover. Most boats don't, and there's nowhere to escape from it. And if the wind's not blowing, we're going to parge
Yeah.
or parboil.
Yeah.
How's your fishing been?
Well, I hadn't been inshore fishing for the last month and a half. I've been chasing another species for the last month and a half or so, and it's been okay. It's been hit and miss.
Going with friends or your boat? Or?
No, I've been on my boat. I've been I was booked pretty good the whole month of June, and then I kind of slow down now. I usually kind of slow down now and pick back up at the end of August, September. I hadn't inshore fished since the last week of May, so I don't have a lot of input to give tonight as far as redfish and trout goes. But
is it a secret what you're doing? You didn't.
Well, no.
You didn't say
mean,
what you do.
I'm tarpon fishing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been tarpon fishing. For
I jumped one today. Had him on 14 minutes. We got the jump on film.
Yeah.
And he was about, I think he was 85, 90, 95 pounds.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. There's a. Yeah.
I got to watch him eat the bait, and I hit him like I had a good, like I had some test line instead of 10. I just kept hitting it in power. I said, break now or don't. And I wanted to see him jump.
Yeah.
And then he jumped and then stayed around and swam around. And finally we got close enough and I made him jump. We got it on film. But that's the only one that I've...
Yeah.
And you said you're not inshore. Where are you?
I mean, I fish. I'm not deep water. I'm just not fishing for redfish and trout.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So like I said, I don't have a lot of input on that as far as that goes. I did run into a school of redfish though in the middle of June that was not quite where I was expecting them to be. They're pretty shallow.
Redfish?
Yeah.
They've been shallow. They're all over. They've been all over. I mean, I was telling him we're in 11 feet of water shark fishing, and big school of reds.
Yeah, that's typically what you see this time of year. You know, the majority of those fish they are schooled up, which is why you don't catch a lot inshore, right? So, if you were to go out and work a grass line on high tide, like you do a lot of times the other times of the year, you might pick up one or two, but you don't catch a bunch, and that's because the majority of those fish are schooled up in 4 to 11 feet of water.
Yep. I've been catching most of mine, like I told you today, in about that 5 feet of water.
Because that's where the bait is.
Yep.
That's where the bait is. Water's too hot, shallow, so they're not spending a lot of time in there.
We saw some in 80 feet of water.
And then
a week and a half ago.
So that's why you're picking your redfish up when you're trout fishing.
I'm picking them up in 4.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
It's 4 plus.
Yeah.
And I'm a mile and a half offshore.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm nowhere near the bank.
Right.
They don't know where the bank is.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
The hill is.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with it.
And
It's all bait.
They're all on that bait, and if you find the bait, you're going to find the fish. I think that's the biggest thing that we could give away tonight is if you find bait, you're going to find the fish. What kind of bait are you seeing? Ballyhoo mostly?
I saw more ballyhoo today. I have been seeing menhaden and probably pilchards. I can't prove for that, but
that day I found that spot. It was a lot of pilchards.
It looked like
we don't get a lot of menhaden in our area. We get mostly like pilchards and threadfins. It's kind of the predominant bait I've seen.
Well, these are little bitty baits, and the ballyhoo are bigger than the white bait.
Been seeing some glass
the white
baits
bait's
too.
been small that I've seen.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest takeaway from anything that we talk about tonight is going to be, just being in the area that there's bait, because if those fish are foraging predominantly on bait fish right now, and so wherever there's bait, you're going to find your game fish, whether it's the trout like you're catching or those schools of redfish. And those schools of redfish will all of a sudden, I'm sure you've probably seen it here lately, they'll just all of a sudden out of blue just start busting.
Yep.
With the bluefish.
Yep.
And the jacks, and there'll be a bunch of redfish mixed in like there always is this time of year. And if you've
seen quite a few jacks. I haven't hooked up on a lot lately, but I've seen quite a few.
Bluefish are thick.
Oh yeah, bluefish are.
The bluefish are thick. Even in some of the spots I've been fishing, I've been seeing schools of bluefish, cruising around the boat, and I'm like, good grief. And some big ones too.
Oh yeah.
Some big ones. So yeah,
Yeah, we kept 30 one day.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah, we were catching. We were in them so thick. I finally just broke the barbs off the spoons we were throwing them and just flipping in the boat, letting them fly.
Mm-hmm.
They were gonna make smoked fish dip with them.
Yeah. So guys, as we're talking, if you have any questions, feel free to post those in the chat. Michael, I don't know if you're still here, but thank you. I appreciate the hello. That means a lot to me personally. I'm gonna say that. Frank, it has been so hot. You're right. We just, although, if you can get out on those days where it's not, where you don't get struck by lightning, but it's overcast and windy, I feel like it's not too bad out there.
I went out Saturday. You've seen the storm.
Yeah,
Saturday,
yeah, it was nasty.
We got in between some pockets, and it wasn't too bad. I got to watch a water spout touch down and go by us, and but we got some scallops that.
You want to touch on scallops a little bit?
It's good. It's real good. Got to be prepared to go a little deeper.
I've heard that they're out there.
Overall, it's been really clear. Saturday was tough conditions. Water was murky, darker, but we still got a limit.
Predominantly, I noticed that if you get, and we're speaking specifically around Keaton Beach, if you get west of the Keaton Beach Channel, that water gets dark. East of it, not so much.
Well, it's moved. The dark has moved down, made it to Piney and at least.
Yeah.
I was out yesterday.
But now it's not as dark as the water is at. It's like tea versus coffee, and it's coffee at.
Still clear, but it's stained.
Yeah, it's coffee up at Deacle.
Yeah, it is coffee at Deacle because I was there yesterday,
and it's even coffee at Jug Island.
Yeah.
We caught fish Saturday out off Jug Island, and then when the sun came out, that was over with. I tried it a couple of days after that, but some nice.
I've seen some boats in there.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious. I'm guessing people have been catching some.
Most of the time, I just go right on by, but when the weather's like it was Saturday, you
can't go too far.
No.
Fish where you
can't run. You can't make those long runs because. Al Murphy chimes in. He says, "Al, appreciate you posting a question there. And like I said, guys, if you got any other questions or anything, we're just kind of get to them as we go, and then talk about some other stuff." And Al says, "Pinfish seem to be the go-to bait. Are you floating them beneath a popping cork or free lining them?" Everything's under a popping cork there, my man.
Oh yeah.
I don't even.
Back Bay Thunder.
I'm not even doing that, and I know the answer to that one.
Yeah, I've been popping cork about 2 feet a leader.
No matter how deep.
No matter how deep.
I'm running a little longer, but I've run some that were 2. Just depends on what the sun's doing and how dark the water is.
Sure.
You do better off with a shorter leader when the water's super dark. You couldn't see a pinfish on my longer leaders. That
whoa. You said shorter leader when the water's super dark.
We got that.
So you
making all that sound. The fish are coming up to the sound.
Because there's more light in the top half of. If you can't see the bottom in 3 feet of water, you don't want a 3-foot leader. You watch the bait and see where it disappears and cut your leader off where it disappears.
That makes more sense.
I've been doing that for.
And they're coming up after the sound, and then you have the
even
light.
with the grub. It's where the bait starts to disappear that the fish hits it because he perceives the escape is happening. So when you put your candy corn, it's what I used to use for my color selector for years, put a candy corn grub on your same length leader, you're going to fish your live bait. If you drop it down and you're the human being and you can't see the candy corn grub, don't believe Bill Dance when he tells you the fish can see better than you can underwater. I believe in Einstein, not Bill Dance. And I say that it's relative to sight and light and sight are universal and relative. So if you can't see it, he can't see it. And so I match pretty much.
So where that bait disappears from your visibility looking down in the water, that's the depth that you.
I'm at the best point of view looking down on it. Because all I have to do is have this much column of water. But if the fish is 6 feet over there, he's looking through twice what I am if I'm looking straight 3 foot down.
Right.
So the visibility is no better than that hula hoop where he comes to you, and that's what I use it. That's how I used to teach people how to pick color on plastic.
Right.
Take a color and put it on a jig head and put it down in the water. The one that disappears, if you're bouncing a grub, the one that disappears right as you hit the substrate is the one you want. The one that looks just as stupid and bright in your hand on down there as it does in your hand is not likely to be the bait of de jour. And I've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
But we used to do that as a color selector.
Yeah. Well, I think
in freshwater.
that's, you know, the common, or the everyday, the weekend, or whatever, however you want to put it. You know, I think the thought process might be, you know, the closer you get that bait to the fish, the more likely they are to see it. But if you're right, if the best viz is if light's only penetrating 2-3 feet into the water, you know, as far as what the viz is, that's probably where you want to keep your bait.
Well, a good example I use to explain color, why color is so important, is when I fish with chicken gizzard to catch my pinfish.
Right.
If I use the gizzard till the pink is gone and it turns completely white, every time you put it in the water, you've got a hand-sized pinfish.
Right.
Before the little one gets it, because he can see it sooner and he's quicker and he runs over and gets it. So once you start pulling big pinfish, the bait is white. It's bleached out white and has no color in it anymore. And the same thing's true with small trout. If you throw a lime truce, which is the opaque chartreuse color, Sasson calls it lime truce, but people just call it green. South Georgia calls it green. A green one. Okay. Well, the point is, if it's too bright, you're going to attract every little fish in the system. All the trash fish are coming to it. That can be a good thing, but it's not a good thing if they get to it before the fish are out.
Yeah. Right.
So if they beat your targeted size, or a larger size fish, or more adult fish, whatever you want to call it, then it's not necessarily the best color to be throwing.
Yeah.
And you've got to dumb that down, as I say, and go through a process of saying, well, I need something pinkish or orangish or whatever.
Right, but so as far as like this time of year though, when you're primarily fishing pinfish though, you let the clarity of the water determine how deep you run that pinfish.
Yes, pretty
much. Yeah.
Because and what I do is I have a little cheat. The person in the front of the boat, okay, that I give the front of the boat is if I've never met them, I suspect by looking at them and listening to their questions, if they have any, they're the least skilled angler.
Sure.
So it's easier for the least skilled angler to throw a shorter leader. So I give them the shorter leader, and they're the experiment. Mm-hmm. The person in the middle of the boat will get either or, but the person in the back will get the deeper leader. And if I'm getting a 2, 3, 4 to 1 pick, then I say, you know, that leader looks chafed. Let's change it.
Yeah.
And all I'm doing is putting the same
length leader on there. Yeah.
And you know, some days you can change it, some days you change it, some days you don't, and it doesn't matter. But when it matters, it is significantly different. Wouldn't you say, Kenny? If you have to shorten up, there's a difference. You can still catch a fish on a longer leader, but it's all about, can he see it when it stops moving, which is when he hits it. And knowing that a trout always hits a bait when it's still is the premise for the theory.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason that it works. He doesn't hit it on the way down, or it wouldn't matter what length it was. He hits it when it stops moving. Mm-hmm. As far as plastic goes,
right.
A live bait, well, you know, you don't always know exactly. But if you time it and count it and watch it as many thousand times as I have, yeah.
Well, even cut bait, we were using cut bait, and people kept. This was last week. People kept popping it too much, and I said, "Hey, you need to pause longer between the pops. These fish they're not coming after it when it's moving." So I grabbed one of them. So I'm gonna take a break. I grabbed the rod, threw it out there, pop. I let it sit. About 12 seconds, wham, keeper trout.
And that was with pinfish.
Cut bait.
Cut bait.
Yep.
So even the cut bait required it to be stationary.
Yeah.
And people make the mistake when they're using artificial baits. And a cut bait is an imitation something else. Mm-hmm. In the way that I cut a pinfish, the shiner tails the folks do, it is an imitation bait fish.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
And I call it, mine is an imitation ballyhoo. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you're using an imitation, believe moving continuously, and that's not so.
No.
They think that life is only about activity, and they are frenetically moving it all the time.
Right.
And that is the biggest mistake that you can make when you're trout fishing, because a bass will run down, go.
Yeah.
A trout won't. if he
Right.
did, we could troll for him and drink beer.
Yeah, soft plastic's been the same way.
Some people do.
Yeah,
Some
and they
people
don't
do.
catch very many trout.
Hey, hey, you go down to Swanee right now, them guys are trolling them passes.
I didn't say you couldn't catch a
Yeah.
fish trolling,
Yeah.
but it's January in the river when you do it.
Yeah, for sure. I know. Yeah.
With a red fin.
Yeah, with a red fin.
Hey,
Exactly.
I've caught them in the Osceola River, letting the boat drag the damn chartreuse 51M, 52Ms along the bottom,
Right.
and a redhead, and catch trout just bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, I used to catch them with the old bomber long A's, chartreuse bomber.
That's a big bait for a trout.
They'll eat
Long A
them.
bomber. Yeah,
They'll
I
eat 'em.
know they'll eat them. That's a big bait.
God, I've got about.
Those,
I probably got.
We used to use
50.
long A bombers down there in South Florida for snook at night.
Oh yeah,
off the
that's what
beaches,
I had them for.
You know, those
Well-
big long. I mean, they big bait like that.
I caught 3 shorts today on a white grub just because there was a pack of white grubs open laying on the counter. I didn't really make
You wanted to see if it was
an
gonna work.
executive decision. I just picked it up, and they could see it in that. It made sense to use something bright.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one though on a color. If you take a glass of iced tea, like that Ancient Age or whatever, tinted color, and you put a white grub in it, it goes to the tint of the color.
Yep.
If you put a yellow grub in there, it holds its own color, and the yellow grub will catch you more fish than the white.
I've been nose hooking gulp under the cork with just a regular hook, doing just as good. If I'm fishing
Just as good as pinfish?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Comparable.
comparable.
Maybe not
But
quite as good.
but again,
at least
you
enough.
gotta let it pause. They're not, you
Yeah.
can't just pop, pop, pop,
Yeah.
pop, or even 4 or 5 seconds, pop, pop, pop.
So
They're not eating it that way.
you say when the water's this temperature or whatever, that you need to slow down between your pops,
Yeah,
as opposed to like spring and late fall?
Yep, the only problem is, like Pat was saying, then you're getting into your catfish. The one good thing about keeping it moving is you keep it pulled away from those catfish a little more.
Yeah.
Well, now, one of the things what I used to teach when I was selling Cajun Thunders at the shows, to the consumer shows, Florida sportsman shows, I called it, let's use some algebra. You remember your algebra you said you'd never use? Let's play 2x plus 1. And if you tie a jig and grub under a Cajun, and you throw it out there, and you watch it, and it says 1, 2, 3, oh wait a minute, X. X is the unknown, remember?
Yeah.
Unknown is what? I don't know how long a leader you're going to have. That's unknown. I don't know how heavy a jig Kenny's going to have. So the jig and the length of the leader determines how long it takes the Cajun to stand up and the jig quit moving. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. If X is 4, 2X plus 1 is 9, not seconds, but count. Your count. You do it, you say 1, 2, 3. If you said 3, then okay. You're at what? 3 times 2, 7. If you do 4, if X is 4, you do 9. Before you put this hand back on the reel after you pop it. And if you play 2X plus 1, you'll catch more trout. Now you can do 2X when the water's cold, 2X plus 6, 7, 8, 9. I've done 2X plus 15 in water that was 50 degrees and caught trout. Why? Because it takes him that long to get there.
Yeah, it takes
Oh,
yeah. Because
But 2X plus 1 is the minimum time that you give it. And if you add to it and find the count, you'll get real good and real specific at catching those trout when they're ready to play the game.
Right.
Yeah, one thing I do, I know it's summertime, but since you were speaking on it, one thing I do in the winter is I'll get up on my seat and I'll watch the people working that plug, that Neridine. And I'm like, stop, let it sit. You could just watch that trout come up real slow and just suck it in.
Right. And if you can get them to count the timing, I'll give you a quick story. Years and years ago, I went out, 3 snowbirds from Inverness wanted to come to Keaton Beach and trout fish. We were throwing red fins over by the Gibson Drive stainless poles. And I said, now boys, and these guys are all 80 years old, I said, now boys, what you got to do is you got to throw it out there, and when it hits the water, pop your wrist one time and count no less than 12 seconds. Well, that average, 2 of them were hitting it 6, 7 seconds. One of them would say, caught a trout. He said, that one was on 10, Pat. And then caught a trout. He said, that one was on 11, Pat. Boom, that one missed it at 12. That one hit it. And while he's telling me so that they can hear it, they're going, look at Karacha, on 6-7 seconds. No. And they would not let it stop. And I said, where are you from? One guy says, Iowa. I said, where are you from? He said, something like Ohio or something. I said, I thought y'all fished through the ice up north. He said, we do. He said, do you fish that fast through the ice? And he said, no, you fish slow. I said, well, this is our ice today.
Yeah.
This is as cold as we get.
Yeah.
I still couldn't get them to slow. But the one man caught 7 of the 10, and I caught 3.
Yeah.
But I quit demoing because wasn't any point in me catching them when they wouldn't.
Isn't it funny, as a guide, I know you probably have this happen, it's like when it seems like when you're struggling or you got people on the boat or whatever, and you pick up a rod and you say, here, let me show you how to do this or whatever, it seems like that's always when
the biggest fish.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
I always
yes. I don't.
And you know why that happens? Because you don't pick that rod up until you're in the best place you know.
Right.
Where you last caught
right,
fish,
exactly.
or at the right time.
Yeah.
The tide is perfect. And you're saying, if these piss willies can't catch a fish, damn.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to pick
then you
up
do it
rod.
just to make just.
Well, here's what happens when it happens for me. It's like I pull up to a spot and they're casting, and I'm like, okay, I know there's fish here. I just got to see for myself, and then I cast out where I think about where they're at, and boom, there it is.
And then try to hand the rod off.
Yeah.
They won't take it. They say, no, you hook him, you catch him. Yeah. I guess you die or go to hell
I guess.
if you catch the other person.
You wait for that right spot and that right tide, and you just make yourself look.
That's right.
Awesome. But
Well, no, the best is when you pull up at the right spot at the right time and you say cast right there, and it's instant. Yeah,
right.
I mean, that's when everything that we do, the time that we spend on the water, that's when it makes it worth, what we do.
Well, I say,
I had a trip last week, and this time of year especially, it's pretty critical to do things right. It's tough. And I told them what to do, told them which direction to cast, how to do it. Next thing you know, we're dragging corks. And I finally just said, you know what, it is what it is. And I'll be danged if they didn't load the boat.
dragging it.
Dragging the corks behind the
Loaded
boat.
the boat.
I got a similar story. I had this guy and his wife, one of my super regular clients. He books me several days a year, and it was like an end of May trip, beginning of June. It was when the trout had pushed out, and we'd already caught redfish, and we're like, well, let's go do something else. And as you guys know, I've said this, I'm not the best trout fisherman there is, just because I don't spend a lot of time doing popping corks. But we got out there and we were throwing popping corks, and the husband was out there on the front, casting in front of the boat, popping the cork like he's supposed to, reeling out, and the wife was just sitting there dragging a gulp behind the boat. And if she didn't outcatch him 5-1, just dragging the dadgum gulp behind the boat for that particular day. And it does not always like that,
right.
but for whatever reason.
Well, you said that on the air now, and all these people that like to drag the gulp behind
to give
the
some
boat,
validation.
They're starting a club right now. Yeah. One guy's getting hats made. Gulp dragger.
You sit there and you have a talk, you have a demonstration, and you're telling them you're not going to catch them behind with dragons because the bait's going to come to the
you say they will not eat it. You say they will not take it back here.
That's the one. Like,
and that's the curse of
then I just sat down and shut up. I'm like, dude.
When you take people out, and when I do that, I always say, if you're drifting, you cast in front of the boat because the water behind you, we've already drifted over it. We've probably spooked whatever's there.
Yep, I say the same thing.
And I'll be danged if sometimes it's that person that's dragging the dadgum bait behind the boat. But
well, I like it when they sit there and look you right in the face, turn around and go and send it the wrong way, and against the wind. And it goes about 20 feet. And I'll say, "How's that working for you?" And they go, "This won't work over here, will it?" I say, "No."
Well, that's how this was. I finally said, "Hey, quit casting and just open the bail and let it go."
That's right.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, my mother used to outfish Daddy. We were fishing cut bait strip.
Right.
She would work it off the back of, from the middle of the boat. She'd let it out. She'd pop it and let it go, pop it, let it go. And I wish she was fishing a Zebco 808 now. And then she'd work it back to the boat. She'd catch fish on the way out and on the way back. And Daddy'd say, damn. When she'd catch one, he'd catch one when she was pulling it back in, He'd say, damn. He said, I guess they're biting better on that side. He would never turn around and drag it. He was always throwing it out in the front.
Yeah. Well, let me jump into these comments here as we got a few coming in. And like I said, guys, if you have any questions or comments or anything that you would like to contribute to what we're talking about, we're kind of just hanging out and shooting the bull tonight. And we are going to go into here in a little bit maybe some things that will help you be successful as we continue through July and August. But let me just recognize these people that are posting a comment. And like I said, anybody who posts a comment or question, we really appreciate that because that helps us engage with you guys as we do the show tonight. But Tommy Valdez says we dove below the tee and they were thick. So have you even been where the dark water is? Tried to scallop in some of that darker water?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think he's talking about like Saturday. It was dark. It was murky. But you get down there and they were literally swimming down, picking up 5, 6, 7 at a time.
Yeah,
just
handful.
Double handful.
But that was in like deeper water, like 7, 8, 9, 10 feet of water, right? Depending on the tide.
6, 7.
Yeah. Okay. I've heard that there's a good number of scallops out there in that deeper water. That's a little bit harder to get 7, 8 feet. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
A little bit harder to dive down into, but they're thick if you can get down there too. David Lee Senior says, Kenny, you are looking trim. You are looking trim and thin. Kenny. Bob Myers, do any of you ever fish at night during the dog days of summers? Pat, you ever tried to fish at night during the summertime?
Yes. Would you like to know how that?
I'd like to know how that went.
How that goes is you say, well, this would be a perfect time to throw topwater. And the sail cats that are 6 to 12 pounds say, yes, it is. Throw another one out here. Now, when you get one and you have this little dinky doo-doo mining light on your hat, you can't quite see when he's going to get you and when he's not.
Yeah.
So you end up donating several of your Jazara spooks to those big bastards when they swallow them. Pardon my French. And the ladyfish go, oh, he's throwing a grub. Yeah. Let's get it.
Yeah.
And God forbid you put a light out. I used to use put a Hydroglow, big old 12-foot fluorescent type light bulb. Oh man, they loved that.
The ladyfish?
The catfish and ladyfish just loved it. And I said, well, this might work on some planet, but it's not working on this.
Works here.
And when it's not ladyfish and catfish, it's sharks.
Yes. But if you if you do my dig, the live pinfish, so I said, oh, well, I'm going to throw plugs at night to catch my world record and all. Yeah. Well, I'm not saying it won't work, but the odds are I'm not going to put darkness with teeth, fins, hooks, and my clientele.
Yeah.
Now,
not going to get to go with dark.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I like snook fishing at night. It's my favorite time to snook fish.
Well, never had a snook on my boat, so
we still got to make that happen. I got to break that curse.
It's not gonna bother me, but I mean those snook can eat at night all they want. I'm not taking anybody else out.
My biggest snook came at nighttime.
They always do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the thing.
But I use plugs just
big trout. There are trout out there that are double digit, but they don't eat fish anymore. They eat shrimp because they can't catch a fish because they're too big and they're too slow. And so,
my personal best came off of a shrimp lure.
Right. If you want to catch the biggest trout of your life, you go out there at night and fish with shrimp when the shrimp are moving, because that's what he eats now.
And speaking on that, there's been a lot of shrimp in the trout I have caught in the last week.
Well, we went through.
Let me ask you this: so, like, I grew up fishing Southwest Florida, specifically Little Gasparilla Island, which is near Boca Grande.
Mm-hmm.
And we always had a dock on the bay side, and we had lights on the end of the dock. And at night, on a hard outgoing tide, there would always be shrimp swimming out. You could literally sit on the end of your dock and net as many shrimp as you wanted to. Earlier in the year, like April and early in May, they were bigger, but as summer went on, they got smaller and smaller. But anyway, that besides the point. Snook would sit there and just feed on those shrimp coming out. Yep. Do they do something like that similar up here at all? like at night when they get up and start moving around? Is there just not enough water flow?
You don't have the pass because
Yeah,
you don't have
right.
the barrier island.
Right.
And the reason we don't have a tarpon fishery and we don't have a bull red fishery is we don't have any barrier islands to funnel that water.
Right.
Both of those species and the shrimp all go in and spawn at the mouth of those places on the full moon
Right,
tides
yeah,
on the
yeah.
incoming, so that their eggs are dispersed into the lagoons and back wet
yeah.
water and bays.
Yeah.
We just don't have that fishery, so we don't have current.
Yeah, I just didn't know if maybe the shrimp came out of the grass at night and maybe swim around on the surface or something like that.
You definitely see more shrimp at night out on the flats.
I know
For sure.
that one of my relatives has a house.
But they're
on-
not swimming by; they're sitting.
Yeah, they're sitting on the bottom.
They're doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can hit them with lights and see them jumping out of the water.
When I go over to St. George sometimes the year, and if you get out there on the bay side and shine a bright light in the water around on the bay side, you'll see them laying on the bottom, and so I didn't know if they got.
But they have passes there.
Yeah, but they aren't swimming; they're just
No.
sitting there on the bottom. Not like they do down in South Florida, where they like they're literally
Well, you have a lot
on
more,
the surface of the water, headed out.
a lot more current
Yes.
flow in those.
Oh, for sure,
You know,
for sure.
and those same areas where those snook are hanging out under those docks, catch a lot of trout there too.
Yeah. It seems like the trout like those spots when it's a little bit cooler weather.
Mm-hmm.
In the cooler weather, it's, you don't see as many. When there's not as many snook under the lights, there's more trout. When
Yep.
the snook get really thick under the lights, there's less trout.
Normally snook and little tarpon.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So what else? I mean, guys, there's 25 people in here. I know you guys got some questions. You got some comments that you would love to throw in here. Anything that you would like us to touch on as we talk about July and August.
Speaking of night fishing, I did take a group. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. We did some night fishing, and I tied on spoons, and they're like, "What are we doing throwing spoons in the dark?"
Good question.
So I said, pretty simple, vibration. It's not all about the flash of a spoon.
Well, did it work?
Oh yeah.
Well, you got to give the rest of the story. You can't
yeah.
stop and say vibration. You can't just stop.
Yeah, it worked. It worked. They thought I was crazy. They wanted to throw topwater so bad. Everyone thinks you need to make a bunch of noise, and we threw some iridines, and I said just straight reel them.
What time of year was it?
This time of year.
Wow.
All right, Darren Edmonds just popped in here with a question. He says, appreciate you, Darren. He says he fishes out of Panacea and St. Mark's regularly. Have been for many years. I actually learned a few new things. This is both entertaining and informative. I appreciate that, Darren. Thanks for tuning in. What are your thoughts on a gold spinner bait with a grub on it? In my bass fishing days, a slow cranked willow leaf spinner worked well in hot weather. Would it work well for reds or trout in the heat?
Can I take that?
Yeah, go ahead.
We designed a willow leaf. I say we, Bill Hall at Precision Tackle, that maker of Cajun Thunder, and we call it the Cajun Flash. And I found that bait to be most effective during the migration when the bigger baits showed up early and late in the seasons, not in the middle of the summer. Now, with the spinner, the jig spinner, which is basically the redfish magic, which is what everybody calls them, because of the popularity of that bait and the millions and millions of dollars they spent promoting it.
Cajun spin is what the Cajun Thunder.
The Cajun, no, it's called a thunder spin.
Thunder spin, that's right, thunder spin.
And I've used, and I caught a lot of fish on them. But the thunder spin does, what a lot of people don't realize is it represents a crab to that red. It is not a minnow. And the reason I can back up that sentence is, I used to have 3 people throwing live bait. I'd be right there where I caught reds yesterday and nothing's going. I take a thunder spin, throw it between the person in the middle and the front, boom, hook it up, hand it off. Take another one, throw it out, hook it, hand it off. The whole time there's live pinfish on 3 rods and they wouldn't touch them. And also, if you work a jig spinner correctly, you bump the bottom with it like a crab goes, kick, kick, boom, and throw the dust, and he'll take it. But if you throw that spinner this time of year, just about everything else but a redfish will hit it, has been my experience.
too, if you all the other issue that we got this time of year is
The
if you-
grass.
yeah, grass. If you
Yeah,
can even
you
work it.
can't. You just can't.
Which in
find
his area,
It's probably better.
Yeah, it's better.
It's probably better. It's probably not as bad in St. Mark's, Panacea.
no, I fished Panacea a week and a half ago. It's pretty clean.
Pretty clean, yeah.
If you are going to throw a willow fix, again, if you throw a fixed spinner bait, it's going to roll on you. That's why we use the jig spinner, so it doesn't roll up on you and spin the line up for you. If you do, put a 5-inch on the willow blade and run a regular sea shed or a paddle tail, regardless of whose brand it is, on the Thunderspin or the Cajun. What you just said, the Redfish Magic, or Assassin's Big Daddy Spin or Big Daddy.
What's the Z-Man?
Z-Man makes a chatterbait. I don't know that they
No,
make
not chatterbait.
I know.
No, the little has the little blade on the jig head.
the underspin.
Underspin.
Underspin is like the Roadrunners.
Yeah.
Yeah, that genre. They have a tendency to pick up a lot of grass. Is
Yeah.
what I found.
Yeah.
That little spinner is on the bottom. Is going to grab grass.
Um,
But it's a bait that's very effective. Used to be more for me in April-May window.
yeah. I would say, Darren, that with the areas that you're fishing, especially more Panacea, St. Mark's, I think gets a good amount of floating grass over there too.
Panacea's.
Panacea usually stays pretty clean, but if you fish, cover some water with that spinner bait, even
gonna
this
catch
time of
fish.
year, you're going to catch fish. And what it, as far as the paddle tail or the soft plastic that you put on it, you're going to want to put something on there that's got a lot of vibration to it as well. I feel like the more wiggle you got on that paddle tail, the better it works. Would you agree?
I agree.
Yeah. So that's a great bait. I throw those a ton. I say I used to throw those a ton, but now I just throw a gold spoon all the time, and I don't know that it matters. I still think that gold spoon is going to outfish anything else that you throw.
That's my go-to.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's hard to not throw a gold spoon when that's what they're eating, or when you're throwing anything but other than top water. It's or in the colder months when you're trying to bounce something off the bottom.
Right.
Slow.
Right.
But if you're just covering water and you got no grass, and heck, even this time of year, I mean, I remember last summer, July. It was into July, maybe even beginning of August. I went out and had a great day on redfish on gold spoons. So I just if there's no grass around and you can fish it, I don't know that I'd fish anything other than gold spoon. Appreciate, again, Darren, thanks for the question. As always, we appreciate the input. Tim Moody says, what's normally the best month in the fall to fish for trout? So what are we clarifying the fall as? Clarifying fall is like
After it quits being hot.
are we saying like October, November, December?
It used to be October. October's
Still pretty hot, but in October it's cooling off.
October's the new September.
Yeah.
I like. Yeah,
November's
I wouldn't
my
say a
favorite.
month.
November's my favorite month.
My favorite right now, or the last couple of years, has been mid-November to mid-December.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's like everything's just slowly shifting.
Yeah, mid-November to early December. And the
Well,
reason
the beauty of November is that most of the other species have bugged out.
Yeah.
We have had the cold weather. Now, when you get a tick on your soft plastic unweighted, it's a trout.
Yeah.
It's not a pinfish.
Yeah.
It's not a
Ladyfish,
ladyfish,
not a
a
bluefish,
dogfish. It's not any kind of
catfish.
trash fish. So
Right.
that's why it's my favorite month. You can teach people how to fish plastic in November, and you cannot teach them how in April when everything's swatting at it.
Speaking of mid-November, better go ahead and start booking. I booked 5 trips yesterday for mid-November. So
Yeah, it's a great time. I think mid-November to early December is probably one of my favorites. Shoot, I like all the cold weather months.
I tell
they're all
everyone
good.
I like mid-October to mid-May.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. You don't fish in the wintertime. Cold. February.
I usually quit around Christmas to 1st of March.
Yeah.
I don't fish the January, February.
Yeah.
Now, if it's warm, if it's not down
Let's
in
say you
the
fished with me
50s.
mid-February this year.
Yeah, I did. I fished February this year, and if the weather's so strange now. I mean, the warmer, you can start
say.
adding February to March. February might be warmer than it was 3 years ago in March.
February's been phenomenal the last 2 years.
February has
So
been good.
February, I will put my boat in if the water temperature comes up. But usually, from Christmas to about mid-February, anyway, I'm not slamming it.
Yeah. We are not getting much interaction in the chat tonight. I think everybody has the summer fishing blues, so to speak, as we kind of wrap up here. We're going to wrap up here in the next probably 10 minutes or so, unless we get some more questions. If we get questions, we'll keep going. But if we don't get any more questions or comments, then we'll probably wrap up here in the next 10 minutes. So if you have anything you want to get in there, again, please get into get those questions in the chat. So let me ask you guys this: we're getting to the end of the second half of July and August. Is anything going to change for you in the way that you approach these next month and a half?
Not really.
I can't see how it will, because it's all about temperature, and we're already as hot as hopefully we're as hot as we're going to get.
Right.
And the water can't get much hotter. True. Brackish, the system is supposed to be about 89, where the evaporation point meets the dew point, or whatever they
Right.
call it, and so the water is supposed to evaporate off faster than it can continue to get warmer.
Yeah.
Now that's what they tell us, but here it's 93, and I thought it was supposed to hold around 89.
I saw.
But y'all be shifting gears a little bit across the next month, targeting some triple tail and doing some gigging and some gator hunting. And
Yeah. As we get into September and October, it seems like that's our best months for triple tail, as far as numbers go.
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually got some triple tail trips on the books for those months.
When
Now,
do the crabbers put the traps back out?
I don't know, but I'm catching them on blue crab traps. So, but
Yeah, we just don't get the
we don't get the big
we
ones.
don't get the big ones.
Yeah,
and
we
that's
don't get the big
that's what I'm going after.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going after the big
Well,
ones.
you're not doing it here. You're gonna go somewhere else to do that, right? I mean, not far, but somewhere else.
I fish out of Keaton Beach.
you pass by Keaton Beach on your way to go do that? Yeah. All right. Yeah, but I mean, I had a day last year in, I think it was early October. I have to look at my calendar, but we caught 8 triple tail on fly
Yeah.
in one day.
Yeah.
On fly.
I was catching them last year.
Yeah, it's a great
I seen you out there.
sight fishing, opportunity, and they eat like they're so willing to bite in October, in September, October. I mean, you don't. It seems like when we get those fish in April, early March, and April, that you kind of have to like really coax them into eating sometimes, especially with a fly.
With a fly, yes.
But in
There's some
September
tricks.
and
There's
October,
some tricks.
they'll eat it. I don't know what the difference is, but they eat it.
Well, they're warm going cold,
Right,
versus
so
being cold
Going
warming
to
up.
warm. That makes sense.
I had much rather fish
Yeah.
on fish that have been warm that are getting cold
Yeah.
than vice versa.
Yeah, because they're trying to fatten up for the wintertime, or fatten up for those cooler months. But yeah, I don't know what else. So you said nothing's going to change probably in the next month or so. Anything else we need to touch on before we wrap up? Any etiquette type stuff?
Oh
or,
man, it is. So speaking of scalping, it has been terrible out there. And a guy got ran over in Crystal
River. I saw that. Have they
Yeah.
found the guy that did it? I heard that they haven't found him yet.
No, they got. Last I heard was $25,000 reward, and that stuff has been all over the news, social media, and you still have idiots out here running within 50 yards, closer than 50 yards on plane, right by people. You got people out there on jet skis just zooming all around the boats, people tubing through the scallopers. I mean, come on, people.
Yeah.
How stupid can you be?
Yeah. Tubing through the scallop?
Yes. And no FWC presence to
That's the one thing
control
that's
it.
frustrating is there is no FWC presence out there during scallop season, like on the scallop grounds. You might get checked on your way in, but as far as out there on the scallop grounds, making sure that somebody's not going to get like critically injured or killed out there.
I've had so many people this
There
year
is no
call me.
FWC
I
presence.
heard the sharks are really bad. Well, for one, I'm not seeing as many as I normally do, and it's not terrible. What's terrible is the idiots out there, and there's not even as many boaters.
Yeah, it's been relatively.
Now you got me fired up. About this time every year, I say I'm done running scallop trips because of the idiots. It's,
Yeah. It's. I'm not in that mess, so I don't have to worry about it too much. I don't think you are either, Pat. Are you?
No, I gave up.
I haven't been near as much this year.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone has near as much this year, but
It's still like I was out yesterday, and you look towards, the Steenhatchee. It's like nothing but boats on the horizon.
it's still not a quarter of what it normally is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 4th of July weekend, and you have open spots at the boat ramp. Not on Saturday. Saturday was fairly busy, but Sunday was boat ramp, plenty of open spots.
It wasn't backed up down the road.
No, it was Saturday. I will say that.
Yeah. Couple more questions. Al Murphy, what's the best way to catch triple tail? Any soft plastic or artificial, man. Just find the structure that they're floating under. It's typically crab pots, and they'll you just gotta cast it close to them. It's got to be close.
A live shrimp is
Live shrimp is
a live
the best
shrimp
way.
would be a good beginner's
Yes, for sure.
choice.
Sure.
If you've
Live
not,
or frozen.
if you've not,
Doesn't even
caught
have to be
them,
live. Yeah, it doesn't even have to be live.
and you can run a cork or
Yep.
free line depending on your casting skills.
Yep.
If you can't cast on the right side of the rope, don't throw it over there.
Yeah.
So what I recommend for most people that, if you're asking this question, you probably don't do it a lot. Run a cork, a short leader. Figure out which way that cork's going to drift. Cast it away from it and let it drift to the buoy. You don't want to hit the buoy right on it. You don't want to hit the fish.
Don't bombard him. in other
Cast
words.
away from it. You don't want to cast past it and real fast to it, because the fish is going to spook and go down. So cast away, let it drift by it. I mean, they're what's the word I'm looking for? Opportunistic eater.
Yeah.
And like I said, frozen gulps work. Frozen shrimp is, sometimes it's tough to get live shrimp this time of year.
Yeah, they'll eat a frozen shrimp.
Cut bait works great.
Yeah. Especially when they're in late fall when they're eating good.
Well, which flies do you use when you're
A
catching?
shrimp imitation.
Yeah,
Shrimp imitation fly.
they will eat crab too.
Yeah. Any crustacean
Yep.
seems to work the best.
Yeah,
I've got one of my clients ties this. I can't remember what he calls it, but I always get him to tie me up like 3 or 4 extra whenever he fishes with me because they work so good. But it literally looks like a little grass shrimp type fly. It's only about that big.
I've got a couple
And it's
like
like
that.
brown, tannish, and it's got little black beads for eyes, and it works
The
great.
best fly we use.
It needs to have some weight on it though too, because they want that. When they eat it, is you strip up to the, and once they track it, you just let it sink, and then they'll eat it when it's sinking because they think it's trying to get to the bottom.
The best fly we caught them on this spring was like a little blue crab imitation,
Yeah. Tim.
which makes sense because they're on crab pots. and
Yeah,
crabs.
yeah, for sure. Tim had a comment for you, Pat. He says it's safe for that salty dog Pat to be out in the heat at his age.
Well, I survived it today. If I survived that 3 hours of slick when it was 107 heat index, I may make it through the summer, but I may not.
He says he
I'm
also
preparing for tomorrow.
He also says he's just kidding. He says you're a wealth of knowledge and he appreciates you.
Thank you.
Chase bars, it was bad last week with the boats running wide open.
Yeah.
Tommy Valdez, appreciate you, Tommy. It drives me nuts. So many idiots out there. Yes, there is a lot of idiots. And Darren Edmonds, how often and when do y'all do the live broadcast? Darren, we do them about once a month, usually the first Tuesday of the month. Once we get into like our good fishing times of year, so once September kicks in, you can pretty much guarantee that we'll be doing it the first Tuesday of every month. In our area, there's not a lot of change from month to month, so that's why we're kind of doing it monthly. If we did it more than that, it would be a lot of redundancy and saying the same stuff over and over again.
We have jumped in when things change, and
oh, for sure. But typically, our standard set is once a month, on the first Tuesday of every month. And we usually make a post on the Big Bend Fishing Report Facebook page that gives you a heads up. And so if you like and follow that, you'll get the notification on that, and you'll be able to tune in. And we appreciate you being here tonight. Well, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up.
All right.
If you don't have any other last minute questions in the chat, we are going to wrap it up. I hope that helps you up. I mean, if you guys could you want to give us a quick summary, just 2-minute summary of what we talked about tonight as far as fishing.
it's hot. It's hotter, and it's been the hottest.
Yeah.
You're gonna need a cork on your bait in order to fish because of the grass. The floating grass is horrendous, and it's scattered. And in the areas that it's dense, there's no clean water that I saw today. And I covered from the other side of Warrior all the way back to the beach, and I fished 4 good spots of it, not really split it up into quarters. The live bait is going to be preferential if you can learn how or know how to get some live pinfish. That's the ticket. Dead bait will work, but again, you got to find cleaner water because you've got to work it more often. You can't let it sit and call the fish to you. Go up works, as Kenny said. Don't hit it too often, or you'll catch everything out there, including the whisker fish. The catfish don't leave because you get 2 or 3 cats in a row. They are where the food is.
That's right.
They are your indication of where you need to be. If you stop and don't catch a catfish, you're not going to likely catch a trout. Now,
especially those sail cats.
Yeah, well, I've caught them both today. It was equal. Hardhead sail cat didn't care size. It went from here to 5 pounds. I mean, if you know anybody who likes to eat sail cat,
they're delicious.
Take them fishing right now.
They are delicious. I will say.
Kenny,
I got tricked into it.
Kenny likes them now, so y'all save them for Kenny. Just go by and throw them in his yard and get him when he comes home.
I'll eat them. So I'll tell the story. I clean some for people all the time, and I made the comment to one of the guys that was on the boat when he caught one. I said, "Look, I clean a lot of these. I said, never ate one. I hear they're good. The meat looks good." He says, "Well, let's keep this one, and we'll both eat it tonight. When we come back tomorrow, we'll discuss it." Well, I fell for it. My wife and I ate it. It was delicious. Go back the next day. He says, "What did you think of that catfish?" I said, "Man, it was delicious. I ain't gonna lie." He said, "Okay, I can try it tonight then."
No, he got you.
He did.
He got you. Real quick, one thing we didn't touch on. We talked a lot about trout, redfish. I mean, if someone was going to go out and target redfish, other than throwing topwater early, wherever you can, because of the floating grass, it's basically just same thing that you've been doing for the trout, right?
Yeah, I've been catching them mixed in with the trout.
I'm getting them in 4 feet of water, which is sometimes 1.5 miles offshore. Sometimes it's a half a mile.
Right.
But
it's
been 4 feet because I think it's salinity. I saw mullet where we were fishing, jumping.
You find the mullet, you're finding reds.
And the reds, I don't see a lot of mullet, but if a mullet is 3/4 of a mile offshore, there's a good reason he's offshore. That's salinity. It's not temperature. He can either make it or break it on that, but it's going to be salinity. And if you had the meter to check it, you could prove it. But we don't fish. We
talked about that. When we had all that rain.
Yeah. And I honestly believe that you've got to find that saturation or that evacuation point, and once you find it, then refine what color water your particular presentation is effective in. You may need to fish down around the beach if the wind's blowing.
Yeah.
In that water that's twice as clear. I couldn't see the bait in my own live well standing back by my motor. I could see where they were, but I couldn't tell you whether they were facing north or south.
Because
that's how dark a water I fish. Now I moved back to water half that dark and caught fish also.
Yeah. Well, you and I, we were working together we had all that rain, and you and I were working together trying to find that evacuation zone.
Right. And they're not as thick now as they were when that water first advanced through there, because it's now gotten stained all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is you will catch fish in deeper water from Deacle south, and you will catch fish in shallower water north. As far as that 4, 5, 6, 7, you can catch some fish out in that stained water that's lighter tea colored. But in that coffee colored water, I don't think you can find your grub or your whatever you're throwing. I don't think you can see it.
And that's why I think top water works so good in that darker water, because
it works
take
good
care.
Because that trout is laying there paralyzed and hungry,
Yeah.
but he's afraid to move about, and he's not going to chase bait. The fish that are chasing the bait are not trout, but they're in the neighborhood waiting for the bait to come to them. But anyway, your top water and shallow water works better because the trout doesn't have to go as far to get it.
Yeah.
And it's a
Well, I was
dangerous
talking about that
proposition.
darker water.
It's a dangerous proposition for a fish to go to the surface.
Yeah, I was talking to one of our other buddies today, Evan, and he said he was fishing an area that was just lousy with bull sharks this morning. Lousy. Which was interesting. I thought that was very interesting. But they had to be in there because there was food.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean...
You find them.
Yeah.
Typically you find them in
Yeah.
reds.
So...
Bait is
Or
bait.
bluefish.
Yeah.
I seen the video.
Yeah, or bluefish. They might have been in there eating those bluefish. It might have been what they were in there after.
Oh, I know a question I've got. Have y'all seen on Facebook those big prawn shrimp that are getting down there at Horseshoe? Is that that's starting to go on again?
No,
Was that fake?
they were real last year. They're not.
They're not
They're
there
not
this
there
year.
this year.
I remember that last year.
I thought
Big ones. They were getting like hand size.
they
Oh
were
yeah,
monsters.
I ran trips down there. I ran shrimping trips.
Yeah. I mean, you go down there in some areas and you see the shrimp just scattering everywhere, but they're not the big ones.
No, it's not
They're
the big
not
ones.
big ones.
I mean, people raped it last year. I mean, bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we should probably thank Stephanie for letting us hang out here
Absolutely.
tonight
Absolutely.
at the Trading Post, which is where we've been doing our last several shows here at the Keaton Beach Trading Post. And
Hey, what did she say? Johnson's
Meat Market on Friday, and Mother Truck and Waffles is on Saturday.
Yep.
Second Wind Hydration will be here. Gosh, I wish he was standing right here because I can't remember the exact time that said Second Wind Hydration.
He's tuning in.
Ashley,
he texted me a minute
Ashley, if
ago.
you're watching, could you let us know when Second Wind Hydration is going to be at Keaton Beach Trading Post?
It's on Wednesdays. Isn't it?
This coming up few days. Second Wind Hydration. When are they going to be here?
Wednesdays, 5 to 6.
Wednesdays. I thought it
Wednesdays,
was
5 to
Wednesdays.
6, Second Wind Hydration. So if you need a B12 shot, if you get out there scalloping and you don't drink enough water and you get dehydrated, you can get IV infusions. You can get, what else do they have?
We are open Saturdays from 10 to 5, Sundays from 10 to 2.
In case you want to know the hours.
Stephanie is here. Stephanie, what are your hours?
Be careful.
Wednesday to Sundays. 10
Wednesday to
5.
Sunday, 10 to 5. There you go. And she's got all kinds of stuff in here, from boots to sunglasses to flip flops to seasonings and hot sauces and everything that you can. What was that you were showing? Let me have that thing. Yeah, let me have that. This is really cool. This is a what'd you call this? It's got 4 glasses, and then it's also got the
Rock
You can
collection.
open up
the where you make the round ice cubes. So I'm having a little
like a bourbon.
10-ounce rocks,
yeah,
tumblers, tumbler lids,
tumblers, and so you can, if you're looking for a gift for your husband or you need a little birthday gift, this is a great place to come here. This is really
You can
cool.
open it up.
I'm going to tell my wife that this is something that I want. See, it's got the ice cube maker right there with 4 nice glasses there, so that's pretty cool. So all kinds of stuff like that in here. So if you get a chance to make it in here to the Trading Post here at Keaton Beach, and
Shop online too.
you can shop online. That's right, I forgot. You can always go find your stuff online. Hats, everything, t-shirts, everything that they got there.
And the address online.
Yes.
What's the
Website.
web address? KeatonBeachTradingPost.com.
You gotta go to Facebook and find it because it's Keaton dash.
What if they Googled Keaton Beach Trading Post?
You'll find it.
Yeah. So just Google.
I don't know how to change it.
Keaton Beach Trading Post. Also, Keaton Beach Vacation Rentals. Or how is your fall looking as far as got lots of openings?
Some.
Some?
There's a lot that are prime time that's
Sure.
already been taken.
Okay.
Tides and stuff. We got a lot of people
So
watching
if you want to
tides,
get,
so
you know,
Do you have anything left scallop season?
August.
August.
August. So if you want to get in the last bit of scallop season or reserve a place to stay during some of our prime fishing in the fall, you need to get with Stephanie and do that now as well.
And there's plenty of scallops. They're going to be big. You know, I'm getting good size ones now, but August is a good time.
How many more scallop trips you got? Couple.
I haven't ran many this year. Yeah, I've done more
I've
fishing.
noticed that the guys aren't running as many scallop trips
No,
this year. I
no.
don't know why. You think it's the sharks that scared them off?
I think it's a combination of that and
And
the
the
economy and
And the heat.
Sharks, economy, and heat combination.
And if you guys have your clients that need a package, we can invoice. They want if they book with any of y'all.
All right, and then also obviously we all stop at Keaton at the beach bums up there.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to give them a shout out too because we patronize them on a daily basis too. Great food, everything that you need to get out on the water. Make sure you stop in there, get your fuel.
good gas
They always
prices.
have the best non-ethanol fuel price anywhere, around in the area. So
I don't run it.
I use the regular now. I ran it in the other motor, but everybody said it didn't matter. So
I use
put it-
regular. I mean, I burn through it so fast.
yeah.
Well, I will say this: I got a call from one of her renters, or a text last week. 2 years ago, I helped him. I had to disassemble his fuel rail, clean injectors, pump out. I don't even remember how 30 gallons of gas with happened again this year. So if
Has water in its fuel?
if you're not going that often, buy some non-ethanol.
What's that? Does anybody have any idea what the length is for the amount of time that your boat would need to sit where it starts to accumulate water?
Yeah, it's not long. It's a couple months.
Okay, a couple months.
Yeah,
A year or two.
3 months.
Yeah. But if you're running it every other week, you're probably good. Right?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, anything else, Pat?
No,
Pat, you want to? Kenny and I were talking about this, and you mind being just kind of like a regular with us as we move forward?
no, that'd be great.
Just doing it once a month with us.
That'd be great.
'Cause it's
Appreciate-
always-
I
it's
appreciate
always
the
good.
invitation.
Yeah, it's always good, and we always have a good time and get a lot of good information out there. So
All right.
we'll just plan on that moving forward. All right, guys, that's it. We're gonna wrap up. We will try to get with y'all. Like I said, this takes care of August, so you won't see us again until the first week of September. The first Tuesday in September is when we will plan on doing this again.
If you're gonna miss us, just book a trip.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure. Absolutely. All right, y'all have a good evening.